For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble, 30 minutes of time-wasting fun. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm looking at the calendar. I can't believe time just flies, doesn't it? And for you Americans, wow, don't you wish it would fly faster? That's all I'm going to say, because I'm not going to get into a political rant or anything. I'm a Canadian, so you did this to yourselves. I mean, you know. Anyway, hey, you know what, though? We are going to go back in time to February, so, you know, just a few days, because I remembered something about my childhood that I kind of miss, and I kind of wish it for the younger generation. Now, I've gone on the record saying I would never want to be a kid growing up in today's world. Full stop. Period. Point blank. End of story. Never. Never, never, never. But don't you just miss some of those things from your childhood that were just kind of fun? Well, I'm going to tell you about one of those coming up in the next segment. And then later, people on social media are kind of nuts. I mean, I'm not breaking any news here, because if you've been on social media, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I've witnessed it firsthand. Now, I have gone on the record many times saying that I don't spend any time on, I really don't care. My husband and I, we have a great life. I have a hot bodybuilder, Brazilian husband. You'd think that we would be doing, you know, selfies and just, I'd be posting. No, I have no interest in social media. We live in our own little world. We have our own little bubble, and that's what we do. But I just witnessed something that blew my mind, because it made me sit there and think, are these humans typing that? Are these animals? Are these just caged animals? What happened and why are they doing it? Well, you're going to have to tune in a little bit later in the show to find out. All right, so lots to talk about today, and it starts on The Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
JB here on The Scribble. We're in March already, which is just ridiculous to me, but let's go back a few days to February, because there's, everything has a month now, right? Just off the top of my head, there's Pride Month, there's Black History Month, there's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, right? There's Movember. We kind of assign these months to things. And when I was growing up, which I found out not too long ago that it still is a thing where I'm from, February was something, or is something, called I Love to Read Month. And so I, as a kid, loved reading and writing. That was my thing. I absolutely hated math and science. I didn't like any of those kinds of subjects. So I didn't take chemistry, biology, like any of that crap in school. I had no interest in. But any of the creative arts ones, so that would be like your music, performing arts and music would be the same thing. Musical theater, definitely the writing, creative writing classes and things like that. That was for me. And I just loved writing. And I guess I knew from an early age that's what I wanted to do. I pursued it. I did it for a very long time. And then there you go. And when you're a writer, like I always wanted to be a journalist, so I wanted to be a newspaper reporter. That was my thing, not television, not whatever, like newspaper. I'm 42, so we're going back a while now. But definitely I knew absolutely by grade, I knew that I liked writing early, but I think it was grade 8 or 9 when we started to write short stories, then maybe grade 7. And I would just sit at the computer we had computers were kind of a new thing in our school, so you would use them for word processing. That was really kind of the only thing that you did on them. And I'm talking about the newer computers that you, not just like that orange and black or the green and black screen where you would play, what was that game called? Oregon Trail or any of the, like, no, we're talking like actual word processing where you would see the cursor blinking and then you would. So I loved writing short stories and poems and all that kind of stuff. So, once you then become a newspaper reporter, eventually, most people, your next move up would be editor. So you're not necessarily writing all day, every day, but you're now managing the team of journalists, right? That's kind of the progression. And so I became a managing editor at a publishing company where we did trade magazines, and I did that for many years. And once you have a trained eye for editing, you can't turn that off. And so what that means is if you are looking at a sign at a store or anything that you read in front of you, whether that's, a magazine or something on social media, every typo, every, wrong word, every punctuation, misplaced punctuation or missing punctuation, like any of that stuff jumps out at you and you can't shut that off. So for me, I've said to several people when I was, I wrote a bunch of books. I have a best-selling book. When I was doing the media blitz for the books, and I would often be asked what I was reading. And there was, I guess, just this weird assumption that you're an author and you write, so you must love to read. And I would actually just say that in the interview. No, actually, I really can't stand reading. I did it for years professionally, and I got paid to critique and take a red pen and mark things up and do that. And so then once I was out of that, I'm kind of like, yeah. So I do read. Like I'm still a news person, so for me, I can sit and scroll a very, very lengthy news story. But again, it's got to have some meat and potatoes to it. I find that journalism, many people have found that journalism nowadays is just kind of really different. And I mean people like from my generation who are familiar with what TV news used to be, what newspaper reporting, would be like before. So for me, I'm a reader, but like to actually sit down and read like a full-on book, no, I haven't done that. And also too, it's not laziness, it's more of a time thing. So for me, if I can have it in audio form and listen to that while I'm walking my dogs or when I'm out, doing stuff, I can still consume books that way. But let's remember here, I'm a broadcaster as well, and I read scripts and we write scripts every day and things like that. So it's not like I don't read ever. And one of the great joys in the morning is for me to go to the news websites and see what's in the news. So I'm doing it in a different format though, right? You're scrolling on a phone or on a computer screen versus opening up a newspaper in front of you, but still I'm at least reading. And so with I Love to Read Month, there we go. Let's circle back to what exactly I was talking about at the start of the segment. This is something that in February, we in elementary school, I don't know. It's really, I believe, to get young kids interested into reading. I don't know that we had anything like that in junior high and high school, just because it's more about kind of, that in that moment where you're learning to read. So those early ages, that was the most fun for me. I loved it. We would get that order form Scholastic books where you would flip through. It was basically like a catalog kind of a thing, a little paper sort of catalog, and you'd see all the new book releases or whatever it was that were available, and you would go to the back. There was like an order form, and you would check out. And my mom was a teacher, so it was kind of easy to get her to, buy us, my brothers and me, books, because that's, she was obviously all for education and reading. And so I love that. And I don't remember how often we got it. I don't think it was once a month. I think it was maybe once a quarter or whatever it was. But that was just something that I waited for. And then you would just wait. I was probably such a pest to either it was the librarian or the teacher. I don't remember who it was. But I just remember asking all the time, when are the books coming in? When are the books coming in? And then they would. And we would go down to the library and we would get our books. That was the most fun day for me. And so later on, so now in my professional life, this was before Corona, and then I don't know that the school did it after that, and then I was mostly living in Los Angeles after, so I kind of lost touch with the school in Canada, and the principal actually left as well. I ran into him, by the way, in Florida last year, I think it was. Anyway, so I would go to a school and read with the kids for February. I would go on Tuesday afternoons, me and a bunch of other local celebrities. We would go to the school and we would we would have the same two kids every week. So what would happen is we would get there for 1 o'clock. We would have one of the kids from 1 to 1:30, and then the kid would go back to the class, and then they would swap it out, and then the next kid would be, 1:30 to 2. And then at the end of the year, they would do like a big, sort of a thank you for us, and the kids would sing songs and whatever in the library. And it was kind of really fun. But there was something about the laziness of the kids. This is where I'm going with this. And I don't need to tell anybody that, young kids don't like reading nowadays. Well, I mean, I guess they do, as long as it's something, trashy or time wasting on social media. They've got all the time in the world for that. But anything of substance, there isn't really an interest in reading. Outside of school, tell me how many kids that you know, so let's say 10 years and younger, tell me right now, how many do you know that are sitting and reading books outside of school? Not related to a school assignment, not part of, not connected to school or anything, just pleasure reading, just leisurely reading in the summer or, evenings, weekends, whatever it is. How many kids under 10 years of age do you know that just legitimately enjoy reading? Now, I can flip this around and say, ditto for adults. How many adults do you know, right? Does your partner sit and, have a book by the bedside table? Does your, do your sibling, whatever. But how many adults do you know that actually will come to you and say, hey, you know what? I just read the most awesome book. Have you heard of such and such? When's the last time somebody did that to you? Not to you. With you, for you, I don't even know. Maybe, to you might be the right word there. But you see what I'm saying, is that people just don't enjoy reading, which, again, I find fascinating, because when you hear about how much time people spend on the internet scrolling and picking fights on Twitter and all this other garbage, you kind of go and say, well, I guess that is more entertaining. I don't really get it. I don't see the, just randomly picking fights with strangers for absolutely nothing. So anyway, my point is that February was I Love to Read month in my hometown of Winnipeg. I don't know if it's a city thing, a provincial thing, maybe it's a Canadian thing. I've certainly never heard of it here in Los Angeles, but it was such a good time because we had so many incentives growing up as kids to read. We had something called Book It. And I think that this was a Canadian thing, and I don't know how far reaching it was. So if you're American and this sounds familiar to you, send me an email, live@jbonair.com. But we had this thing called Book It, where it was a big purple badge. I mean, it's funny because you can't see me, but I'm holding my hand out like a circle. We had a purple badge, and it had Book It, and then there was a rainbow, and then 5 stars across the top of it. And when you would finish a book, you would get, your teacher or whoever it was would give you a star, and once you got the 5 stars, you could then go to Pizza Hut and get a free personal pan pizza, because you read 5 books. And so that wasn't the reason that I was doing it, but it definitely was something where you're kind of like, wow, all I have to do is just, read books. I don't remember exactly what the criteria was. Like, I don't know if you just had to go and say, I read it and that's it. I don't remember if there were questions or like what you had to sort of do to prove it. We wouldn't really lie to teachers back then. I'm sure it's a different story now. But definitely, I do remember that. You had the purple badge, Book It, you had the 5 stars across it. You got to go get your personal pan pizza on a whatever night of the week or whatever it was for free. And it was just fun. Like, reading was, again, I don't know if it was the teachers doing that to motivate us to read, but for some reason we just found reading enjoyable and fun. And it's such a shame because, especially now where everybody's a writer, right? Everybody's a broadcaster, everybody's a goddamn writer, and everybody's, just writing blogs, whatever it is, which is fine. But sit down, read a book. And even if it's just a matter of scrolling a book on your phone, right? You can download the book. I'm not saying to have a hold of it in your hand, like a paper copy of it, but, any kind of a long form story, go for it. Read. I have this, and I think, well, it was before the days of memes. I don't even really know what you would call it. But it was one of those funny pictures that people would, email. And there was basically a road sign that was hacked or taken over, and it said, read a fucking book. Just like, those signs when you see like, road closed or construction ahead or whatever on the side of the road, those flashing signs that display messages. That's what it was. It said, read a fucking book. And somebody sent that to me, and I just said, like, this is the best. This is perfect. No. So we're going to switch gears in the next segment, because I talked about all that, time wasting fun that you have on social media. I've recently discovered something very, very bizarre about what people do on there, and I'm going to tell you about it coming up next.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. SpeakFreeWithJB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
JB here, back on the Scribble, back to social media now, just for a brief moment. No, it's not going to be a brief moment. I've talked about on the show, that my husband and I have a men's swimwear and underwear store, and then we have a coffee company, and I own a media company, and we do, broadcasts and publishing and all this other fun stuff. Recently, Facebook really cranked up the traffic to the men's swim store page, and that was great because it was getting 4 million views a day, whereas before it was getting about 6,000. And it had really only about 6,000 followers as well. But I mean, that's something that, I've talked about it before where Facebook Meta basically was targeting. And we all know in the gay community that, we're over-policed and we're over-censored and blah, blah, blah. That's no secret. Google it, you'll see what I'm talking about. But, so we noticed it. It was at the end of where are we now? So it was the end of January that all of a sudden, one of my accountant, she not only handles our company money, but she looks at like stats for traffic and things like that across our platforms. And she came to me on the Monday after. Okay, so wait, this started. I think it was on a Thursday, and she came to me on the Monday. So we had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of just like through the roof traffic. So 4 days. She came to me on the Monday and she said, I don't know what's happening on Facebook. Like, we don't spend on Facebook. We don't advertise. We don't give them money because they're a bunch of fucking homophobes and Zuckerberg can lick my fucking ass. But all of a sudden, we're just getting this spike of traffic. When I say spike, like I said, we were getting 5,000-6,000 views a day, 4 million in one day. And what that led to was a shit ton of comments. Now, it was interesting because you have a lot of the people who are commenting, we're posting product photos. We have a whole bunch of models wearing the different products, and that's what the Facebook page shows, right? Think about when you go onto the Macy's website or again, back in the day, you'd have this year's catalog, right? That was how you would shop for clothing, was that you would see pictures of it on a body or on, usually on a body. You wouldn't generally see mannequin photos in a catalog because that's not quite personal. It doesn't really show, sort of like a body type or a figure. But with this is a swim store, underwear store, and you have the people who are commenting, but they're commenting on the men's looks. And before this spike in traffic, the percentage of female visitors was, what was it? It was like point something percent, so it wasn't even 1%, okay? It was less than 1%. During the spike, it ended up going to 3%, and then it was 4%, and I don't know what it is now. I haven't looked recently, but at its highest that I saw, it was at 4%, which again is fine because you might have women buying stuff for their husbands or whatever it is, or you have a lot of gays have their gay best friend who's a woman, and she might refer you to the site to you might be interested, you might wear this stuff on your next vacation to Mexico or whatever it is, so that's great. And we've done many Pride events where, women would come and buy the underwear for their husbands or whatever, and that's awesome. But what I noticed, especially about the women, now, when I say that they're women commenting, they've got a display picture of a woman and a woman's name. So, that's as much as you could base it on, right, on social media. I don't know that they're actually women, but looking at it, the comments from the women were so incredibly nasty that we ended up having to have one of our guys on the comments section, because the notifications were coming fast and furious, basically just censoring, like editing the comments for an entire week. We had somebody like non-stop. We switch them out. Okay, this is all we are bringing somebody in. This is what you're doing. Go through the comments. Anything negative, delete it. Anybody saying, oh, small dick, oh, ugly face, oh, whatever, delete it. We're not having that on our page. And so when I finally kind of looked at a bunch of these, you have all these women going and saying like, oh, no balls, oh, no dick. And first of all, I would expect that from gay men, but to see women doing that, it was just bizarre. And you would have the odd time a man's profile, again, if it's a man or not, we don't know, but a man's profile would then sometimes clap back at the woman and go, do men come into like women's clothing stores and say, oh, you fat fuckhead, oh, you fat bitch, oh, look at, you think you look good in that? That's just not something that you do. Whether that's in a store or on a women's clothing, right? I'm trying to think of some like female clothing line. I don't know any names of them, but going to a clothing store and just commenting on every, oh, fucking skinny shit, oh, skinny bitch, oh, eat a meal, eat a burger, oh, you fat bitch. Like, that's honestly what people were commenting. And I was confused because I'm sitting there going, obviously people don't realize that this is a clothing store. This isn't just a collection of like men's photos. This isn't a dating page where you're scrolling through and trying to find, your husband or whatever it is. This is like, these are our professional models who all look really good. And it floored me. And so it doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm not on the page, so it doesn't hurt my feelings. They're not saying this about me. But definitely I'm very protective of my staff, so that's why, like I said, I dispatched somebody to be on there, getting rid of all that garbage. That's not the point. I mean, like, that's... it's the point of the page is not what these people are talking about, is what I mean. So it's not the point, meaning get it off my page. And so... and then you have, like I said, I expected from gay men. So yes, there were some comments. Where's the bulge? Oh, oh, maybe cover the face. Oh, maybe. And you just want to like, why? Like, what's the point? You hear critics on, on TV, cable news or whatever going and saying, well, just don't say anything. Like, what's the point? But the fact that you decided to chime in, insult this person who, whatever, for whatever reason, I don't know. Let's just make up names. Okay, Julie, like, what? I don't understand what you get from just posting, slamming this guy who has an amazing body, really does. I don't understand the point of that. And so the fact that you're doing this, you're spending your time just, who knows how many pages that you're going to, every night and just, oh, ugly, oh, pass, ooh, no. That's how you're spending your evening? Okay. All right, cool. And then I don't spend much time on social media, but when I was made aware of this, I was kind of like, I want to see what's happening. So I would click to some of the pages, and you've got like their mothers in some instances, their profile pictures, them with their little kid or something. And I'm looking at this thinking, this is very bizarre. Not only because it makes me wonder, what are you teaching your kid? But I sit here going, where is your kid right now? Like, this is how there's no quality time with your kid in the evenings or whatever it might be. Like, that's what, and obviously we've seen people like this, right? We've seen parents who are at the fast food restaurant. The kid is, doing whatever the hell they want, and the parent is just staring at the phone. You have seen this. Don't tell me that you have not seen this. So I now it makes me wonder then, like, okay, so the times where I've seen that, is that what these moms are doing? Is that what they're doing in this moment when they're with their kid sitting across the table who's like begging, screaming for attention from mom? Are they on Facebook? Is this what is this when and where they're doing it? I'm at Dairy Queen ignoring my kid, and I'm on this company's clothing store's Facebook page, just ripping into insults for men who I don't know. It's very, very strange to me. It's weird. But I will say, to end it on a positive note, during that spike in traffic to the Facebook, it had upwards of, like, I don't even know what it is now. It's probably 60-some thousand followers. Now, a lot of them are garbage. A lot of them, it's the, I love you, and then they just send you WhatsApp phone numbers, which you're just like, but numbers are numbers when it comes to social media, right? The more people that are seeing it, the more the algorithm picks it up and shows it to more people. I'm not going to argue with 4 million views in a day. especially if it's spiking traffic and it's, generating big time sales, I'll take that. So but it was very bizarre to me. So I appreciate, Facebook, pushing the traffic and doing that, but at the same time, and it is on you when it's your page, right? You can lock it down so that comments aren't accepted or, whatever, but just keep that in mind though. Like it's a clothing store. I would never have thought to go to a women's clothing, website or Instagram page or whatever it is, and just start ripping and calling the ladies, fat, ugly, get some boobs, that's not an ass, oh, too much ass, look at those thighs. Because, heaven forbid a man comment on a woman's, body or physique. Well, God, no. But you can have these women going and saying, no dick, little dick, where's the dick? And to them I say, fuck you, bitch. Okay. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Find something better to do with your time. That's what I would say. We're back on the Scribble right after this.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
JB here, back on the Scribble. I had something else to talk about, but I'm going to change it if I'm allowed to. I'm allowed to. It's my own fucking show. All right. So we just had that Twitter promo, and I had to laugh because how long has it been called X now? And we talk about this all the time internally here, where we still call it Twitter. I don't know anybody on my team who refers to it as X, right? You don't say that you posted an X, right? You still say that you read it was a tweet. Did you see what so-and-so tweeted? Oh, I tweeted this. So by the logic of having to, by order of a president, rename a body of water, Gulf of America, I'm wondering, and maybe I haven't paid attention to the Elon thing, but I'm wondering, like, is there going to be an official, like, presidential order that it must be called X? Maybe that's coming? I don't know. Did I correct? Somebody tell me if I've missed that news. It doesn't surprise me that it could happen. But, I mentioned earlier in the show that I've been in the news business for a really long time, and I've never really understood this whole fascination that Trump has. I mean, I guess I understand it. He thinks that he's a king, and what he says goes, and everybody has to go with it. So, I mean, I get that part. But I don't understand the whole sort of punishing news outlets because they, use a different word than what they've been ordered to. They've been commanded to. They've been, it's just such a weird situation to be in. And then you hear of companies like Nexstar, that's the company that owns, News Nation and WGN and KTLA and a whole bunch of other stations across the country. They have, Nexstar had sent out a note. This was, I guess, a couple weeks ago now, where even though they follow Associated Press style when it comes to their reporting, they've bowed down as well to the Trump order of, call it what he calls it or else. And I just think, wow. So as a Canadian, as a Canadian who also does American reporting too, right? I mean, I live in Los Angeles, so it's not like but I mean, if worse comes to worse in the situation, what are we, 2 months into the presidency? Or no, we're not even, we're like a month and a half into the presidency. I can easily just go and say, all right, it's back home to Canada for me. Like, I don't, like, just, you can destroy your country. I mean, that's not, and, I said that I'm not going to go into a political rant on the show, but because I changed it up at the last minute what I was going to talk about, I've given myself that time. And it's my show. Oh, and ironically, I'm the president of this company, so if I want to fucking do it, I'm going to fucking do it. And there's no stopping me. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a weird life that he has, right? He's, he flies to Florida, goes golfing every weekend. He wanted to go to the Super Bowl. Then he flies to, was it NASCAR? He was, and you just think, this is just like an old coot who's just, I'm just going to vacation and do as much as I can in my twilight. Well, I guess twilight years is younger, isn't it? So anyway, on that note, that's where we're going to end things. All right. Don't even send me your fucking hate mail. I don't care. That's where I feel like I'm an old man, where it's like, I don't care if people don't like me. I don't care if you don't like what I say. I'm just, you don't have to listen. You don't have to comment. You don't have to comment at some random person online is ugly. You don't have to do a lot of things. You don't. All right. Well, send me an email. Love hearing from you after all that. I enjoy having back and forth discussion and debate. But if your reply starts with an insult, you've lost me already. Like, I'm not even going to read the whole thing. But if we can have a genuine, back and forth dialogue, a disagreement or something, then I'm all for that. The email address, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter @thescribbleshow. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.